Now, where Justin Trudeau is pointing the fingers at conservatives once again, conservative MAGA conservatives, and Tucker Carlson for the way that the Canadians are now moving away from Ukraine. I guess a sabotaged Ukraine free trade deal is now on the scrap heap of history, all thanks to MAGA conservatives and Tucker Carlson. Justin Trudeau is at it once again. We wanted to bring in David Krayden from Ottawa, Canada, to unpack all of this. So this free trade deal, David, with Ukraine was supposed to make things, I guess, easier for the flow of goods to travel between Ukraine and Canada, which I'm surprised it's not already flowing as easily as that. But it's now the problem of MAGA conservatives for torpedoing this deal. Can you explain what's going on here?
Yes, it's quite fascinating because we already have a free trade deal with Ukraine. It's called giving them billions of dollars and all of the armaments and all the tanks we have in our inventory. That's the kind of free trade deal we have with Ukraine. But Trudeau wanted another free trade agreement, and you wonder about the timing here. This is a regime that is teetering on the brink of disaster, catastrophe, and collapse. And do you really think anybody in Ukraine is worried about a free trade agreement with Canada? Probably not. But Trudeau wanted all party support for this free trade agreement, which incidentally he inserted a carbon tax amendment to, which he routinely does to all trade agreements with other countries. If they want to sign, they have to agree to this provision for LGBTQ rights or for gender ideology teaching in schools or for carbon tax. So the Conservatives objected to this on the principle of Ukraine or anybody doesn't need another carbon tax. But really what's going on here behind the scenes is there are a lot of conservative people in the base, the grassroots, who are saying enough of the billions of dollars we are sending to Ukraine. You've given them our last Leopard tank. The army is saying we don't have any inventory left. You've given it all away. We can't afford it. And more Canadians are waking up to the fact that Zelensky is shoveling all the money into private bank accounts along with the other high-level politicians, along with the other oligarchs. And as soon as this war is over, they're going to be bolting the country for warmer climes and they hope safer climes. But they want to get out of there as soon as possible. And with the billions that Canada, NATO countries, and mostly the United States has given them with no strings attached. So this free trade agreement, which will probably go through, will mean nothing. It's a farce because Ukraine is in no position to even honor a free trade agreement. It's a country nearing collapse. And thank God the Conservatives found some spine on this finally to say enough is enough. We're not going to give another treaty away, more billions of dollars to Ukraine. They're finally developing some resistance to this. And it's high time because Trudeau likes to pretend all Canadians are united in their solidarity with Ukraine, and it will be with Ukraine for as long as it takes. And I have asked several times, well, how long is it going to take until every last Ukrainian male and female is dead on the battlefield? Until there's not a single scrap of metal left to make an arm? I don't know what they are looking at except catastrophe here.
Well, we've seen Polish videos on the Polish border, the Ukrainian border, where Polish truckers are blocking goods to flowing into Ukraine. One video has gone viral over the past 24 hours showing luxury cars, big truck beds of luxury cars flowing into Ukraine, but they're stopped at the border. And Poles are saying, wait a minute, I thought this was a corridor that was supposed to be sending arms and weaponry and to specifically help Ukraine in its hour of need. Why do they need luxury cars? Poles are saying. And so to your point, Canada has already sent billions of dollars into Ukraine and weapons, and the United States has continued to do this. What more could they possibly need? I want to read a quote, though, from Justin Trudeau, who says the real story of the rise of the real story is the rise of a right-wing American MAGA-influenced thinking that has made Canadian conservatives, who used to be among the strongest defenders of Ukraine, I'll admit it, turn their backs on something Ukraine needs in its hour of need. So he's really he's really using some talking points straight out of the Biden handbook, which is MAGA extremists American MAGA extremists. This is the problem. And they're even taking potshots at Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson apparently is to blame too in this hour of need for Ukraine. Can you explain that part of the story?
Well, that's because Trudeau, every time he's desperate, and he's desperate not just to stay as prime minister, but to stay as the leader of the Liberal Party. He's facing a caucus revolt because so many MPs are saying, we're finished. We're annihilated in the next election if you stay there, Justin Trudeau. So he's desperate. So he's pulling out the MAGA boogeyman, which he has occasionally done. And for the woke left in Canada, or for the real stalwart Trudeau supporters, there's nothing more evil than MAGA and Donald Trump. And now it appears Tucker Carlson has joined this triumvirate of evil personalities, because Kingston Liberal MP Mark Garretson joined the government House leader at a news conference to bemoan the fact that Tucker Carlson's writing talking points for the Conservative Party of Canada now, and is actively encouraging Canadians to turn their back against Ukraine. And here we have more desperation. But we know that the Liberals are very upset that Tucker is coming to Calgary in January to interview the Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith. We know that they have almost a paranoid fear of Tucker Carlson, that Justin Trudeau has a incredible fear of Tucker Carlson. For whatever reason that is, it's almost bizarre. But he now, the Liberals are blaming everything unseemly in their eyes on MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson. And I find this to be the politics of desperation. And what kills me is that here is Trudeau again accusing his detractors of exercising extreme right-wing politics. Sorry, Ukraine is the one with the neo-Nazi battalion called the Azov Battalion. Trudeau was the one who sanctioned and invited a former Waffen-SS Nazi to come to the House of Commons to hear Zelensky speak. Trudeau was the one who did that. Trudeau was the one who sanctioned 2 standing ovations for this guy. And just like he did with the Freedom Convoy, where he said, these guys are a bunch of extremists on the fringe. They're racist, they're misogynistic, and you know what? They're Nazis too. Because I think I saw a Nazi flag on the first day. So they're all Nazis. So Trudeau, once again, is using the politics of distraction and detraction. He's calling his enemies what he is. He's projecting his faults, his authoritarian ideas, his authoritarian values on his opponents. So everybody out there is against him is an extremist, right-wing, crazy man. Sorry, you're the one who's running your government like a fascist government.
Yeah. Well, maybe this fair trade deal could go through so Zelensky could get a few more yachts and, as you point out, a few more diamonds for his wife, because while Americans suffer, while Canadians suffer right now, Zelensky needs more wealth, more money flowing into his pockets. David Krayden, great to see you. Thank you so much as you prepare for a big snowstorm up there. Also watching the trucker convoy trial, which is set to return as well. And hopefully you can give us some updates on that, because the defense is about to have their turn, right?
Yes. And finally, after, my God, 2 months of the prosecution showing videos that were actually favorable to Tamara Leach and Chris Barber, and people scratching their heads wondering, I don't understand the point of all this. The defense is going to get up and I think absolutely slice the prosecution in 5 or 6 pieces, because they have no case. The prosecution has no case. They're putting these 2 people whose resources are extremely limited, who are surviving on fundraising, into hell. And that's the whole point of this. They know they're not guilty of any kind of sedition, of any kind of mischief, of any kind of insurrection, but they're putting them through hell. So anybody else who wants to protest against the Trudeau government is going to think twice about the legal cost and about the humiliation and about going through a trial that should have been over in 48 hours. That's going to go 3-4 months. And that's what this is all about.
Taking a play right out of the January 6th playbook, and going after people that don't deserve it. David Krayden, great to see you. We'll have dispatches from the trial here over the next few days. We appreciate it. Thanks from Canada, as always, David.